This is Ask a Couples Counsellor, a show that answers all the relationship questions you're too afraid to ask. On the show, we'll take your questions and give you the tools you need to build trust and intimacy with your partner. I'm your host, Neha Kapoor. I'm a registered clinical counsellor and psychotherapist, and I'm really passionate about helping couples navigate the challenges that we all go through. Because after all, every relationship encounters some stormy weather now and then. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Ask the Couples Counsellor. Trauma isn't always what you think. It's not just disasters or abuse. It's the invisible weight that shapes how you trust, how you fight, and how you love. In this episode, we're breaking down big T and little t trauma, showing how it shows up in relationships and giving you tools to reclaim your voice, your safety, and your power. If you've ever felt stuck, avoided conflict, or carried invisible weight from your past, this episode is for you. By the end, you'll have clarity, courage, and practical ways to turn survival into connection. All right, let's get into it. Our first question for today comes from Sarah in Perth. Let's have a listen to Sarah's question.
What is trauma? I've heard the terms big T and little t trauma, but I don't know what that means. So what's the difference?
That's a fantastic question, Sarah. Trauma is an experience that overwhelms your ability to cope physically, emotionally, or mentally. It's not just what happens to you. It's how your nervous system and your heart respond, sometimes for years after the event. So trauma changes how you see yourself, how you relate to others, and even how safe you feel in your own skin. So let's talk about big T trauma first. So a big T trauma is the kind of trauma that shakes your world in an undeniable, life-altering way. So losing a loved one suddenly, surviving a natural disaster like a flood or earthquake, being in a car crash, experiencing physical or sexual assault, being a victim of war, or even witnessing a violent act, or even going through a painful divorce. These are events that the world itself recognizes as traumatic. These are moments that can leave scars on your body, mind, and soul because they're shocking, extreme, and often outside anyone's ability to prepare for. On the other hand, little t trauma is quieter but just as real. It's the accumulation of experiences that chip away at your sense of safety and worth over time. Growing up in a household where your feelings were ignored, constantly criticized or dismissed, being bullied at school, living in a home with chronic conflict, experiencing repeated rejection or humiliation in relationships, these experiences are often invisible to the outside world, but they can shape your inner life just as profoundly as big T events. Here's a personal insight from my work that I'd like to share with you, Sarah. I sat with clients who grew up in homes that looked normal from the outside. They had the family dinners, the birthdays, holidays, but every emotion they had was met with judgment or silence. That's little t trauma. And yet, years later, it shows up as anxiety, self-doubt, or difficulty trusting even the people who truly love them. The truth is that trauma isn't about weakness. It's about survival. So big T or little t, your response is valid. And healing doesn't erase the trauma, but it gives you the tools to reclaim your sense of safety, your power, and your life. And remember, just because the world didn't recognize it doesn't mean it wasn't real. I hope that answers your question, Sarah. Our second question for today comes from Stephen in Victoria. Let's have a listen to Stephen's question.
How do I support my partner while they work through trauma?
Stephen, I love your question. Absolutely love it. This is such an important one. Supporting a partner through trauma isn't about fixing them. It's about showing up in a way that makes them feel seen, safe, and understood. In my clinical practice, I see this a lot. Partners want to help, but they often freeze, say the wrong thing, or try to solve the pain. Trauma, whether it's big T or little t, it's not logical. So logic alone won't heal it. What partners feel is often a mix of fear, frustration, or helplessness. They want to protect the person they love. But trauma can make someone withdraw, reactive, or distant. That's not rejection, it's survival. So here's what actually works: presence, patience, and validation. Listen without judgment, resist the urge to fix, and normalize the emotions they're experiencing. Small gestures matter, and holding space in silence, asking, "What do you need right now?" and consistently showing you're a safe person to lean on is the best way. A partner doesn't have to have all the answers. Being a sturdy, compassionate presence itself is healing. And remember that trauma reshapes how someone relates to the world. And your calm, consistent care can be the bridge back to connection. Because love isn't about erasing their pain, it's about walking through it together. So lean in, even when it's uncomfortable, because your presence can be the anchor that helps them feel whole again. I hope that answers your question, Stephen. Our last question for today comes from Alex in Victoria. Let's have a listen to Alex's question.
My therapist says that being conflict avoidant is a trauma response. But what does that really mean? Nothing really bad has ever happened to me. So how can I be dealing with trauma?
I hear you, Alex, and this is such a common experience. What your therapist is pointing to is something subtle but powerful. Trauma isn't just about abuse, accidents, or disasters. It's anything that overwhelms your nervous system and leaves you hyper alert, anxious, or cautious in relationships. Even small experiences like repeated criticism, emotional neglect, or growing up in tension filled homes can quietly shape how you handle conflict as an adult. So, in my practice, I see this all the time. Clients from loving, stable families freeze, shut down, or avoid disagreements at work or with partners. One of my clients' chests would tighten and words lock up if a partner raised their voice, even if it wasn't dangerous. Because as a child, raised voices meant rejection. Another would constantly give in to avoid upset, only to realize later they were suppressing years of unmet needs. Trauma doesn't need headlines. It can be subtle, cumulative, and still powerful. So here's the key that I'd give you. Conflict avoidance is your nervous system saying, "I need to stay safe." That strategy worked once, but now it limits connection, honesty, and intimacy. So awareness is the first step. Notice your body: tight stomach, heavy chest, automatic yes, and name it. Say, "This is my old safety response showing up." You don't need to confront every disagreement with a big speech. Start small. Express minor preferences or feelings in safe moments. So say something like, "I prefer we go out later," or "I feel uncomfortable when." Pause, breathe, and approach disagreements with curiosity. Saying something like, "I want to understand your perspective. Can we talk about this?" This rewires your nervous system to see conflict as connection, not danger. Because remember that trauma isn't only about what happened to you, it's about what still lives in you, shaping your choices, your reactions, and your heart. But the beautiful truth is that with awareness, compassion, and support, you can break old patterns. You can reclaim your voice and step into relationships without fear. Conflict doesn't have to feel like a threat. You can turn it into a bridge to deeper intimacy. Trauma isn't about weakness, it's about survival. Big T or little t. What matters is how you respond, how you heal, and how you show up for yourself and the people you love. Remember, your past doesn't define your future. The patterns you've carried, the fears you've felt, they can all be rewired. Lean into awareness, practice compassion, and reclaim your voice. Healing doesn't erase the pain, it transforms it into connection, courage, and power. And remember, even the deepest wounds can become bridges to a life full of trust, intimacy, and freedom. All right, that's it for today. And before I go, if you have any burning questions you want answered, send them to novoempowercounselling@gmail.com. Let's navigate this journey together, because better relationships start with understanding. I can't wait to hear from you. You've been listening to Ask a Couples Counselor, a show that answers all the relationship questions you're too afraid to ask. This show is produced by Novo Empower Counselling. We provide a range of services, including couples counselling, individual counselling, and online counselling. To find out more, visit our website novoempowercounselling.com.au. This show was produced with strategy and production support from Wavelength Creative. To make sure you don't miss an episode of Ask a Couples Counselor, be sure to subscribe to or follow the show in your podcast app. And while you're there, I'd love it if you could leave me a 5-star review. It really helps others find the show. I'm your host, Neha Kapoor, and I'll see you in the next episode.